Recently, I had the opportunity to shoot a live music session with Stephen Cali and his incredible band, so today I just wanted to look through some of the frames and kind of walk you guys through how I achieved this look. So just to get this out of the way early, gear-wise for the wide shot we are using a Sony a6300 with a Sigma 16mm lens, and for the handheld shots, all the cutaways were shot on a Sony a6700 with a Tamron 17-70, so super affordable, super attainable cameras that pretty much anyone can get. Really did a fantastic job in my opinion for what we needed. In terms of the location, we were super lucky. The guitar player Chad's friend was building this music room in his house. He's been putting a ton of work into it, and he very graciously opened his doors for us to come in and shoot. So it was a really beautiful space, obviously already decked out really well and set designed really well. Also made it really easy for the guys to set up how they needed. In terms of framing, I wanted to set up the guys more into the corner of this room for a couple reasons. One being shooting into corners usually adds a lot more depth to your background as opposed to shooting against a flat wall. So ideally, if you can shoot into corners, more than likely that's going to be a better outcome for your image. Also, just kind of the way the band's set up, it just made more sense for them to be backed up into this corner. The only thing I didn't really love about this setup is unfortunately where the drums are, just the size of the room. Jeff, the drummer, is mostly covered during this wide. Tried to fit him in a lot of the handhelds, but just given the size constraints of the room, we couldn't do too much. Couldn't go any further left, that's where our key light was, and any further right was where our audio engineer Sam was set up, so we were kind of stuck with the framing that we had. So these two great practicals that we have here in frame left and frame right were going to be the motivation for our lighting sources. The first being our key light, which we have set up on frame left. The key light for this shoot was an Aputure 600C, which was being shot through the Aputure Light Dome 2 with both layers of diffusion on that softbox. And we wanted the source to be even larger. The farther away you're going to get, you want to make your source as large as possible to be as soft as possible. So then we also had that softbox shooting through a large bed sheet that I had set up on a C-stand. This is a method known as double diffusion. Honestly, could almost be called triple diffusion since I was also using 2 layers of diffusion on the light box, but it made for this super soft light that you see across all of the band members here. A lot of these large diffusion materials on B&H are going to cost you hundreds of dollars. For maybe this much better of a result, I highly recommend just go to Target, get a $10 bed sheet or a frosted shower curtain, test them out at home, and you'll see they make for really great results. With all of this diffusion going on, we're obviously cutting down a lot of the output of the light, so we did have this set to a pretty high intensity. I think it was around 90%. Last thing we had with that light was we also added the egg crate onto the dome. We were just getting a touch of spill on this left side of the frame on the wall, which I didn't love, so we added the egg crate as well, again knocking down our intensity. So our second light, which was going to act as our back or edge light for the band, was motivated by this lamp on the right. So right above this lamp and out of frame, I have mounted an Amaran F21X using a Cardellini clamp to some exposed beams that were under the catwalk in the room. Using an edge or a hair light is super important. It really separates your subject well from the background, as you can see from these shots here. This light also added just a touch of fill into the shadows, which I really loved. We were really going for a warm and homey vibe with the lighting sources here, so we had both cameras set at about 4300 Kelvin, and a lot of the light sources you see are going to be between 3000 and 3500 Kelvin, just to kind of really push those warm tones. The last light we used was an Aputure 300X just to give us a bit of room tone. Now, a lot of us know room tone as it applies to audio, but it also can apply to lighting. What the room tone does is just give you that little bit extra detail in the shadows. The shadows are super important when it comes to making your image look clean. If you crush the shadows and you lose detail, it just doesn't quite look the same as those ultra high contrasty things that you're going to see in movies where the shadows look nice and crisp. You can always bring the shadows down in post, but having the detail there is a huge part of why movies look so good and YouTube videos don't. The ceiling in this space was incredibly high, probably around 18 to 20 feet. So I did have it at about 20 to 30%. It wasn't adding a ton of extra output into the space, but like I said, just filling in those extra shadow spaces. Now, just to run through a couple of things that I didn't necessarily love about our setup, one being the dark windows. Kind of had my hands tied with this one. The house we were shooting on was on a large hill, so there wasn't really anything that I could have actually lit for us to see outside. We also filmed this in the middle of a huge snow and windstorm. I mean, it was absolutely brutal outside. So one, you wouldn't have been able to see anything with the snow, and two, being that I was the only production member on this shoot, I didn't feel incredibly comfortable leaving a light outside in 40+ mph winds in a snowstorm. So we kind of skipped over that. Another thing looking back that I think I should have thought about more is how we were gonna light Jeff in this corner, the drummer. He falls off into the shadows pretty hard back there. We were able to save a little bit of his shot during the color grade, but similar to how I did the edge light, I probably should have added another light mat on Jeff's right, so camera left side, just to give him an extra bit of output. Would have made him match the other members of the band a bit better. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I mean, there's certainly some things that I can learn from and grow with here, but I feel like we got a nice soft light, very pleasing light, especially on the close-ups of Steven, as he is, you know, in the front position. He definitely got the best of this soft light that you can see. Really clean roll off from highlight to shadow on his face. Also with that kicker light being just a bit warmer than the key, I really love, and filling in that shadow side just a touch. So definitely keep up with these videos as they are put out. They'll be on Steven's channel. I have it all linked below, so check it out, and I'll see you guys next time.